stories to tell.
The small boy kicked me to open fire on me, so I said, okay, you can cut the right hand. So that's what how my right hand was cut off.
He's working with clutch with which here that it was that guy. No, he's not an ordinary eye. No, he's not an eye. Do you use marry his wife?
It all depends on how I handle my story and how you're able to handle your own story.
It is what you decide in your mind that determines you, not your situation.
I don't hear well, but one thing is, we are better together.
Joshua Lucy Pius in therapy.
Welcome to Against All Odds on the Nigerian Television Authority, a program that brings to your doorstep the lives of persons with disability.
Creative visual arts has been believed to be the highest standard of artistic expressions. Artists make works that are purely created to be aesthetically pleasing, which distinguishes masters of art from other forms of art.
These are works that have been with these masters and have recognized that in dealing with art particularly, when you're buying any stock of art, let me just say this, you're not buying the regular car, you're not buying the regular jet there that you put in. This is something that has never fallen. There is no stock market that you find art has fallen. So it's always on the rise, and Nigeria is on the rise.
The demand for Nigerian art, both locally and globally, has equipped the artists with necessary skills to create various forms of art. And for the masters, it also provided a significant cultural component to help them in communicating ideas, entertain, and awaken our curiosity and emotions.
It has to do with the Nigerian situation where we have the three major ethnic groups in the country, Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. And the work here represents three figures with three different colors. So as the artist, I chose blue color to suggest that the man in blue is the good and the man in red is the bad, while the man with black dress is the ugly. Will you say the Igbo man is the one wearing the blue color, or the red or black, or vice versa, the Hausa man, or even the Yoruba man? So the major idea is that we are very rich, but unfortunately we are not making good progress because we have the good, the bad, and the ugly within our society.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Glad to know you're there on this week's episode of Focus on FCT as we bring activities of the FCT administration closer to you. I am Mariam George Jitubo.
Residents of the Federal Capital Territory are hereby alerted to the activities of scavengers, also known as Babambola, which security agencies have identified as a high-level security threat to not only the residents but also to our infrastructure as they perpetrate petty stealing and acts of vandalism on public utilities. More so, they are drug peddlers, serve as spies to terrorist elements, and are ready-made tools for the public disturbances during which they attack people with dangerous weapons. The Federal Capital Territory Administration therefore reiterates that the ban on scavengers, aka Bababula, operating within the Federal Capital City is still in force. These miscreants are advised to stay off the streets of the Federal Capital City for their own good, as defaulters will be apprehended and prosecuted, including parents of underage children involved in these practices. Relevant agencies are carrying out enforcement of this ban as stipulated. Be law-abiding always. Let's together build the FCT of our dreams. Management Announcer.
Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has inspected a construction company's quarry site in the nation's capital. The quarry provides services in the construction and quarrying of natural stones and asphalt. The minister describes the facility as the biggest quarry in West Africa, whose investment, he says, is important to the development of the territory, pointing out that with such an enormous quarry, the cost of construction ought not to be very expensive, particularly in the nation's capital.
It's a factory in FCT, and the market landlord to come to see the factory, which is the biggest quarry in West Africa. And I've not been here before, but I think I'm taking the opportunity to look at the environment and see what they're doing. That shows that the cost of construction popped up to be very expensive, particularly in the FCT. Apart from the equipment that are imported that are used for this project, the raw material is available here. And I wonder why contractors will be talking about the cost of aggregate as if these are imported. They are not imported, they are made here. So I really want to encourage the company. It's so amazing that we have this type of manufacturing way of Africa. For what you said, they have over 800 persons who are working hard here. This is the same company that is trying to carry out industrial bank at E2, and which we are going to give them all necessary support. As a president, I've sent out the letter to the Minister of Finance to push on the tax credits to enable them carry out the other one-way carriage to make it end up with the carriage which is being done by Saturday Consortium company.
The minister commended a private firm for employing more than 800 persons as workers in the industry, promising to give all the necessary support. He says the only problem is environmental impact assessment, but the managing director of the company has explained that it is up to standard and that there is no cause for alarm.
I will not lie to you, I'm really encouraged what I'm saying. I'm really very encouraged. My only problem is the environmental impact assessment, which is said they are up to standard, there are no problems. It's my problem. I'm very, very impressed.
Nyesom Wike was also taken around the facility to see things for himself and have a feel of economic fortunes that abound in the nation's capital. In another development, the FCT minister has honored the former FCT Commissioner of Police, Benneth Igwe, and Director of the Department of State Security Service, Adomo Azu, for improving the security architecture, thereby reducing crime and criminality in the FCT during their stint in office. It was during the send-forth ceremony put together by the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, in their honor at his official residence at Life Camp. The outgoing FCT commissioner, a new Assistant Inspector General in charge of Zone 7, and now the Assistant Director General of DSS at DSS headquarters, were described as two fine officers who have worked relentlessly in combating crime and criminality in the nation's capital. Encomiums were poured on them.
Working as Commander Gas Brigade gave me an exposure to the workings of security architecture of a place like FCT. When most of us assumed command, the security situation in the FCT was quite challenging, and deliberate steps needed to be taken to correct the situation. Good enough for us, we had a minister that was very dedicated and committed to see immediate changes to the security situation in the FCT. And to actualize this, all of us had to come on board. Shortly afterwards, the CP also joined the team. And I'm able to say that with the presence of the CP and the DSS FCT director, we had very seamless working condition, such that we're able to achieve a lot within a very short time. And I want to believe that this can be attested to by the people living in the FCT. It took a lot of effort, but we're more bold today to say that things are taking a very positive turn. We're not here to glamorize ourselves or to take glory, but to dedicate ourselves to the security of FCT and environs. I also want to urge the outgoing CP and the DSS director to always know that with us, they have a place, they have a home. And good a thing, they are both deployed or redeployed within Abuja here, so they are just a stone throw away. There will be instances that will still require their inputs. They should please not look away from us. We'll still go back to them one time or the other to request that they grant us maybe some audience or guidance as we continue to discharge our responsibilities to secure the FCT. Once again, I want to say thank you to the two gentlemen, and most importantly, I want to say thank you to the FCT minister who has given us the conducive working environment and the support that we need. He's always with us day and night to ensure that everything we require to function well is at our disposal. Thank you very much. And for our guests this evening, I want to say thank you for honoring us with your presence, and I will say bon appetit.
Firstly, what Your Excellency has done this evening is renewing the hope of all of us public servants that when you distinguish yourself in your career, there is always that room for recognition. And recognition itself is a moral booster. So we believe that with what His Excellency is doing this evening, the rest of us are upbeat. And we also want to assure the Honorable Minister that we will do our best to be recognized like this when it is time for us to part. I want to use this opportunity to really appreciate our working relationship with the two very fine gentlemen that are just stepping aside in the FCT, their duty post. I had cause to work with AIG Bennett Igwe right from when he was in charge of a special operation that is the anti-robbery squad. I knew very well what he went through because I served then as secretary of the Ministerial Task Force on city cleaning. So I can attest to his pedigree, I can attest to his professionalism, I can attest to everything that is more of an embodiment of a fine officer. He has done so well. So also, Mr. Mwazu has been a very wonderful and fine officer. The outgoing director, now ADG SSS, very, very humble and amiable, but very firm when it comes to doing his job. I've had cause to relate with him at close quarters, and I've seen him take very decisive decisions that I would never have believed at that point in time. I want to really appreciate the minister for having identified these very fine officers, building them into a very formidable team to be able to address the multifarious security situations we met on ground as at the time His Excellency came into power. FCT residents can testify to the fact that there was near loss of hope. But with what the minister, the machinery the minister put in place, coordinated by this gentleman, I think we can now sleep with our two eyes closed. I want to sincerely thank the Honorable Minister for this leadership role, and to thank these two gentlemen. Like the last speaker said, thank God they are not far away from us. We still have the ability and we still have the privilege of tapping into their wealth of experience and advice whenever the need arises. I want to say that God will guide them through in their new positions and grant them the enabling wisdom, the knowledge, the tact to continue to discharge their responsibilities creditably.
The FCT Minister Nyesom Wike says the priceless services rendered during their stint as heads of the two security outfits in the FCT calls for celebration. He urges them to keep the momentum high in protecting lives and property in their new assignment.
I've always said that people who are committed, people who make sacrifice, that I don't believe it's only when you die, people will honor you, people will reward you. While you are alive and you have worked, you should remember it. And that is why we said, these two gentlemen who have worked with us, to make all of us sleep well with our two eyes closed is important. We honor them, we thank them for their services. I'm not one of those who like to praise people, but when you see the reality that somebody is committed to his work, that somebody is willing to service his nation. When I came as a minister, and before my city left, there was a lot of lobbying who the Commission of Police so much. And I thank the Inspector General of Police for his wisdom, for deeming it necessary that we bring a Commission of Police that is rugged, that knows the terrain of the area. All of us can attest to the fact that AIG Igwe is a committed police officer who is out to fight criminality and criminals. I will thank God Almighty that in doing this, God saved his life. God has kept my life. And that is why he announced here today that he came with his wife and his children. There are those of them who, in course of this war, they die. And that's the end of you. He wouldn't have announced today that I came with my wife, I came with my children. So thank God Almighty for keeping him alive, to be able to be promoted to AIG, and to come here today with his family for this recognition. The Assistant Director was very quiet, but very committed. I thank God, and I thank the new DG of the state security services for finding him worthy to be promoted and for him to work at the national level. Two of them have not left FCT. In fact, when I heard about his promotion, I wanted to go and I said to the IG, why are you removing this man when we are fighting insecurity? IG told me, don't worry. He will still be of assistance. I still need him. But how will it be that you want to stop somebody's promotion? So it is IG. I have no role to post where he should be. It is IG that knows where to serve and where not to serve. So thank IG for identifying your qualities and keeping you in zone 7. So as I would say to Murasu, thank the DG for identifying your qualities and also bringing you national importance. So I can be of immense help to him and to us. So I thank you. And this also, like the head of service said, the moment you do well, people will recognize you. People will thank you. Everything must not be money. This recognition, money cannot buy it. And this is what everybody pray for, that their services are. But I want to thank other security agencies, the Major General, the Brigades of Guard, or the Air Force, all of you, that this war wouldn't have been easy, but for your cooperative, collaborative efforts in making sure that the FCT is safe. I know what happened in this last so-called bad governance. I know the role you play. Sleepless nights sometimes. I will go for Security Council meeting, 6 p.m., sometimes 8 p.m. You worked relentlessly to keep FCT safe. I know, as the minister, the security reports I get every day. If Nigerians, if FCT people know what you have put in place, the efforts you make to combat crime. You know what Nigerians are just, when one crime happens somewhere, they forget all the other wars you have been able to stop. Nobody wants to say you have done well. Just that something has happened in Life Capital. They will say, oh, FCT is not safe. But all the things you have been doing, every day I get the security report, I get the criminals, look at the kind of ammunition, guns they carry, and you arrest them, but you don't go on television except when it is necessary to begin to say this and that. So Nigerians should know that you are doing a lot. It's not easy. There's no country in this world where you say there's no crime. There's no country, not one. Even the most developed, every second, every minute, every hour, every day, one crime or the other is So I thank you. And on behalf of FCT, you've done well. We must say thank you. And this place you are going, please continue with that spirit of serving your fatherland. Continue with that spirit that you must support this government in order to protect property, in order to protect our citizens. So I want to commend you, I want to thank you. I will call the representative of the honor of ABAC to come to support, to give out whatever we have to these brothers who have contributed to securing land and property in FCT.
AIG Igwe expresses appreciation for the support from the minister and pledges to continue to protect lives and property of the citizenry without fear or favor.
Both of us came to see the minister when I assumed office. He gave us a marching instruction. I want the crime in FCT to go down, and I will mix it with what I can do. If I ask all of you to start clapping for the minister, you may not understand why. As he gave the instruction, he supported us without fear or favor. He supported us with the work. And that is why when my people call me and said, why are you always in the bush on patrol in the night? I said, because the minister is equally on patrol in the night. The minister, you see, is equally on patrol in the night. You may not understand. That's the truth. For those who know him, sometimes we crisscross each other. And when you are working with such a person, you should know, I'm a Christian. If you go to Psalm 121 verse 4, the Bible told me that he who keepeth Israel neither sleeps nor slumber. So I regard Abuja as my Israel, because the minister equally regarded Abuja as his Israel. Because he who keepeth Abuja will neither sleep nor slumber. If you sleep, the kidnappers will enter. If you slumber, before you wake up, the bandits will take over. That is Abuja for you. So we neither sleep nor slumber. Up to today that I'm standing here, including himself, me and the Ado, and the Commander Gas Brigade, and our other brothers in the Security Council, we agreed to work jointly together. So, and me and the Ado, we have agreed. He's in the headquarters. As far as I'm here in FCT, at the AID Zone 7, in charge of FCT, and Niger, and operationally Kaduna and the auxiliary states, I promise to do my best to ensure the safety of FCT according to the minister's mind. It doesn't mean so to tell us.
Gifts were presented to the two celebrants.
I hereby present this gift to AI for the excellent job he has done for the people of the FCT.
At the token for you to remember your service to the FCT, to say thank you and God bless.
This is where we draw the curtains on this week's episode of the program. Keep a date with us next week, same time, same station.
The mosaic of time in the kaleidoscope of life. Time is a masterpiece. A delicate piece when we wait. A vibrant shard when we're late. A dark fragment when we're sad. A radiant tile when we're happy. An intricate pattern when we're in pain.
Now we are going to be feeding our beans, pouring the blended beans for moi moi for your akara into a bowl. You can see how smoothly blended this beans is. Shakichi Mejami 6,000 watt Odogu blender. Now we are going to be blending our plantain using the Shakichi Mejami Odogu blender. Plantain, your sweet potato, Shakichi Mejami blender is blending the plantain for your plantain swallow, for your plantain moi moi. All you need to do is buy Shakichi Mejami blender. If it's not Shakichi Mejami, it can never be sharp. As you can see, we are pouring the plantain, the blended plantain into the bowl. As you can see, we are going to be blending our tiger nut. We want to make tiger nut juice. We'll be using dates, coconuts, can see here, we are using the blender to blend it. Now we are going to be pouring the tiger nut juice into our cup to serve with any snacks of your choice, as seen on TV. If it's not sharp chichime jamdi blender, it can never be sharp. We are going to be blending our bambara nut. Bambara nut for okpa. We are using maize. We are going to be adding our maize to the jar. We are going to be adding millet also to the jar, as seen on TV. Now we are going to be blending our coffee, very good, and our quinoa green tea as well. We are pouring the coffee and the quinoa in jar kitchen it can never be sharp. Sharp kitchen blender as seen on TV. As you can see, we are putting the stockfish into the blender. We are going to be covering it. Watch how this sharp kitchen jammy 4-in-1 blender is going to come inside out. Now we are going to be blending our crayfish. As you can see here, we are using the sharp kitchen and we are going to blend our crayfish. You can see how easy the sharp kitchen blender. Now we are going to be blending our pepper. We are using tomatoes, bawa, onions, tatashe, ginger, garlic to blend this pepper. We are going to be pouring the blended pepper into a jar. You can
rush now to ongoing trade fair complex, Airport Road, beside ShopRite, Lube, Abuja. You can still locate us at Sahar Stores, Abuja, Shop A3 Aliu Modibo Block, Gariki International Market. In Port Harcourt, you locate us at Next Cash and Carry, Pabod, Transamadi, Hyper City Supermarket. In Benin, you locate us at Hallmark Supermarket by Kada Plaza, Sapele Road, Benin City. Remember, Sharp Kitchen Mate Germany. If it is not Sharp Kitchen Mate Germany, don't buy. For the prices, we give you these 5 liters for 160,000 no more.
Hello and thank you for joining us on the news on NTA International. I am Charles Alpha. Courage Ogirahi is our sign language interpreter. But before we go on, let's quickly take a look at some of our top stories. Vice President Shettima attends 79th United Nations General Assembly. Civil Society Situation Room commends electoral umpire for deploying of bimodal voter accreditation system for the governorship polls. And China unveils fresh stimulus to boost ailing economy. Well, the Vice President Kashim Shettima arrived alongside other heads of state and government to the hall of the General Assembly and welcome a reception by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. World leaders gathered from Tuesday 24th to Saturday 28th September and on Monday 30th September 2024 to engage in the annual high-level general debate under the theme, Leaving No One Acting Together for the Development and Human Dignity for Present and Future Generations. The Vice President is representing President Bola Tinubu at the United Nations General Assembly. And still from New York, Nigeria has reaffirmed its commitment to fostering stronger international partnerships and deepening relations with member states of the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States on the sidelines of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this at a high-level organization meeting chaired by Angola, reiterating the importance of solidarity among member states. in the face of numerous global challenges. He emphasized Nigeria's commitment to the organization's goals while addressing pressing national concerns. Vice President Shettima used the opportunity to address Nigeria's recent inclusion on the high-risk jurisdiction lists for anti-money laundering concerns, saying this sets the record straight and engage in constructive dialogue with the international partners. The Secretary General, Judges Rebello Pinto Chikoti, lauded Nigeria, the motto of the organization and an important member state, noting the meeting aimed to strengthen cooperation with Nigeria and express gratitude for the country's significant contributions. He reiterated the importance of strengthening partnerships between the organization, member states, and the European Union, focusing on crucial collaboration in areas such as environment, infrastructure, education, and business development. Now, the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Abubakar Badr, reiterated Nigeria's dedication to the Treaty of Pelindaba, saying that Africa as a nuclear weapon-free zone is beneficial to the continent. The minister stated this during a high-level launching of Friends of Fissile Material Cut-Off Treaty hosted by Japan's Prime Minister Kishida at the United Nations General Assembly 79 in New York, USA. Nigeria joined other countries at the event to launch a campaign for a treaty that prohibits the production of fissile material for nuclear weapons and other nuclear explosive devices by limiting the quantity and improvement of nuclear weapons. The minister stated that Nigeria and the African continent shall remain committed to the Treaty of Pelindaba, declaring Africa as a nuclear weapon-free zone, stressing that Nigeria is playing a leading advocacy role for nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. Badr highlighted that strengthening NPT, FMCT will enhance transparency and cooperation between nuclear and non-nuclear states that will enhance a peaceful nuclear energy. Now, an action plan for a new policy to facilitate more women in trade in West Africa has been adopted by the ECOWAS Commission. Now, the validation meeting in Abuja also tasked member states to immediately domesticate the policy for implementation. Calvin Hunaya reports.
Women account for about 70% of the informal trade and commerce in West Africa. But disparity in trade policies of member states is an impediment to the ability of women to play active roles in regional trade. This meeting of trade officials of member states facilitated by the ECOWAS Commission is to streamline those policies and review them with an objective of adopting a gender-based action plan that will enable women, trade associations across the region, harness opportunities available in free trade for women empowerment and economic growth. For Nigeria, the move will further consolidate government intervention for small-scale businesses run by women, currently implemented by the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment.
We are hoping to harvest areas from our African neighbors where policies, directional policies can be put in place that will be workable. Because it's one thing to have policies and it's another thing to have workable policies.
We work with the Women Traders Association for them to take advantage of the EFCFTA. That is a huge market in Africa, and we believe that women should play a major role in connecting African countries through trade.
The action plan expected from the meeting is to be ratified and domesticated by member states of ECOWAS as a policy guide on gender and trade. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
Guinea's capital, Conakry, reactions have trailed the announcement by representatives of the ruling military junta in favor of their leader, Namadi Doumbouya, contesting for the next presidential election. Comfort Fashion tells us more.
Business was slower than usual in Guinea's capital, Conakry, as an opposition call to protest gathered little momentum 3 years after the military seized power. The opposition in the West African nation had called for a peaceful protest to denounce the junta's crackdown on dissent and to demand a return to civilian rule by the end of the year. Reports say, though the demand went largely unheeded, activities in the capital was nonetheless slower than usual. Meanwhile, citizens are beginning to express their views on the willingness of the junta leader, Mamadi Doumbouya, to stand in the next presidential election.
Le président a ouvertement dit que ni lui,
Amadou Barre, president of the Citizens Union for Emergence of Guinea, said the president has already openly said that neither he nor any member of the ruling National Committee of Reconciliation will stand as a candidate. So in his own opinion, he thinks the head of state should respect his commitments because it is the only solution for peace and social tranquility in the country.
Je crois bien que ça a même tardé l'officialisation.
While Abdul Majid Ba, on his part, said that they want Doumbouya to be an equal candidate, just like any other leaders who are seeking the supreme authority. He says he does not think anyone should refuse Doumbouya because it will be an open competition and the Guineans will elect the president. Under international pressure, the junta had initially pledged to hand over power to elected civilians by the end of 2024. However, it has since made little secret of its intention to renege on this commitment. General Doumbouya is due to return from China, where he attended a summit along with hosts of other African leaders. And no official activities were planned for the 3-year anniversary of the junta's takeover of power, which brought an end to civilian President Alpha Conde's more than decade-long rule. Comforts, fashion, NTA News.
And in China, its central bank has unveiled a raft of measures to boost the country's ailing economy as its battle prolonged property sector debt crisis coupled with deflationary pressure and high youth unemployment. Central Bank Chief Pan Gongsheng tells a press conference in Beijing that it would cut down rates in a bid to boost growth. And Comfort Fashion has details of that report.
The world's second-largest economy is yet to achieve a highly anticipated post-pandemic recovery, and its leadership has set a goal of 5% growth in 2024. China's central bank on Tuesday unveiled fresh measures to boost the struggling economy, cutting the amount of cash banks must hold in reserve and lowering key interest rates.
今天的新闻发布会，我宣布了。
Pan Gongsheng told a news conference in Beijing that China will reduce the reserve requirement ratio and the policy interest rate and drive the market's benchmark interest rate downward. He added that the reserve requirement ratio will be cut by 0.5 percentage point in the near future to provide long-term liquidity to the financial markets of about $1 trillion. Pan says Beijing would also lower the interest rate of existing mortgage loans and unify the down payment ratios for mortgage loans, and that it will guide commercial banks to lower the interest rate of existing mortgage loans to the vicinity of the interest rate of newly issued loans. The move will inject around $1 trillion, that's the equivalent of $141.7 billion in long-term liquidity into the financial markets. And Pan shows that the decision is expected to benefit 150 million people across the country and lower the average annual household interest bill by about 150 billion yuan. Reports say that China's economy is battered by a prolonged property sector debt crisis, continued deflationary pressure, and high unemployment rates. Comfort, fashion, NTA News.
And back in Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu has transmitted an additional 2024 supplementary budget proposal for the Federal Capital Territory to the House of Representatives for consideration and passage by lawmakers. Upon resumption, the Green Chamber also adjourned plenary after an abridged session to honor the memory of late Senator Ifeanyi Ubah. National Assembly correspondent Peter now brings us details of that report.
Resumption of plenary after 2 months of parliamentary recess was characterized by the usual exchange of banters among lawmakers. Speaker Tajuddin Abbas thereafter read a proposal for an additional 2024 supplementary budget for the Federal Capital Territory.
This supplementary budget proposal has been prepared on the basis of the FCT's reviewed revenue and expenditure forecast and is aligned with the fiscal and developmental policies of the federal government and the renewed hope agenda. With it, the FCTA continues to prioritize improvement of human capital and infrastructure within the Federal Capital Territory.
The House then adjourned plenary in line with its tradition to honor late Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, who died during the recess.
His passing is a great loss to the National Assembly, his family, and the country as a whole.
This is the first substantive session after the unfortunate demise of Senator Ubah. We're back, with regular plenary sittings, and we have said we're expecting the 2025 appropriation proposal from the President, from the executive arm of government, and we anticipate that should come in sometime about October.
Major expectation is MTEF, medium-term financial expenditure framework of the Mr. President, which will now form the basis upon which the budget 2025 will be premised.
And we expect that there will be several motions and bills that will come on board after our engagement with our constituencies.
The House is one of the most effective part of this government because, we are grassroots oriented. Most of us, we don't have any other place to go to. We must go home. And we feel the impact of everything, positive or negative, directly. So we must act very well.
Meanwhile, plenary and other legislative activities will resume on Wednesday, 25th September 2024, with an expected inauguration of a joint ad hoc committee to investigate challenges in the oil and gas sector. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
We'll take a quick break now. There are still more reports coming ahead.
Did you know that President Bola Tinubu has approved the suspension of import duties and tariffs on rice, maize, and other essential food items for the next 5 months? The President has also approved the suspension of import duties on pharmaceutical raw materials and equipment. This will help bring down the prices of food and drugs across the country. All hands are on deck to ensure that things get better for all Nigerians. This is the renewed hope.
Thank you for staying with us. The Senate today resumed plenary after 2 months of recess to attend to legislative business. Among them, requests from the President for the confirmation of appointees, including the Acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekerekun. The National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, after exchange of pleasantries with colleagues on the first day of plenary, read a string of letters from President Tinubu requesting confirmation of the Acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, the National Coordinator of National Social Investment Program, and 21 others as commissioners of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. Also transmitted for parliamentary approval is an additional 2024 supplementary budget of the Federal Capital Territory to improve human capital and infrastructure. The President, however, notified the Senate of his decision to withhold assent to the bill that seeks to increase the retirement age for some categories of staff of the National Assembly and legislative houses across the country from 60 to 65.
Upon thorough examination and careful consideration, I have decided to withhold my assent to the bill. This decision is made in accordance with powers vested in me by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
While welcoming legislators from recess, Akpabio urged them to inspire hope in the hearts of Nigerians by reminding citizens that their dreams are valid and aspirations achievable.
I implore each and every one of you to continue to reflect upon the weight of the responsibilities that we bear as legislators in the current situation. We are indeed the voice of the people, entrusted with a sacred mandate to advocate for their rights and elevate their living standards. The challenges we face may seem formidable, yet we are also poised to confront them with unwavering candor and relentless determination, and together we shall succeed.
The former chief whip of the Senate, Senator Ojiuzo Kalu, also commends the federal government for various interventions, urging that more should be done to cushion current economic hardship.
To do what President Tinubu is doing now. It's about courage. But I appeal to federal government, I appeal to the president to know how he can bring succor quickly.
In line with tradition, Senate suspended consideration of all items on the order paper in honor of late Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, representing Anambra South, who died during the 2024 annual recess. From the National Assembly, Nami Ali, NTA News.
The federal government has commended the National Media Complaints Commission, the Nigerian Media Ombudsman, for its impartial and thorough investigation, which found Trust's reports on the Samoa Agreement to be inaccurate, misleading, and not in line with the Code of Ethics for Nigerian journalists. The federal government has equally commended the recommendations made by the NMCC, including the directive to Daily Trust to issue a public apology for its false report on the Samoa Agreement and take measures to prevent future occurrence. In a statement, a special assistant on media to the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Rabiu Ibrahim, says the ruling serves as a testament to the importance of journalistic integrity and accountability, and a reminder of the crucial role the media plays in shaping public perception through truthful and accurate reporting. The public, he notes, expects that news outlets will adhere strictly to professional ethics and conduct by ensuring that their reportage is factual, fair, and balanced to avoid injurious reporting such as the one done by Daily Trust could be effectively avoided. The statement adds that the federal government recognizes that a free press is a pillar of democracy, but with this freedom comes the responsibility to report news in a manner that is accurate and devoid of disinformation. Now, there is a consensus among the heads of courts at various levels to continue to work hard to guard the independence and sanctity of the judiciary. This formed the core of the 2024 roundtable for heads of courts in Abuja. And Delia Tumbi of our judiciary desk reports.
Roundtable for Heads of Court is an annual forum at the instance of National Judicial Institute with the core objective of deepening the leadership competencies and capacities of heads of courts in order to enhance the effective functioning of the Nigerian judiciary. In view of the enormity of issues surrounding judicial leadership, particularly the challenges associated with their roles as heads of courts, the platform avails the heads of court the opportunity to engage in active discussions and cross-fertilize ideas on how best to improve their performance. It also affords them the ample time to collectively map out strategies for the advancement of the judiciary. The forum is of the view that the independence of the judiciary is critical to the rule of law, as only an independent and truly varied judiciary can safeguard the freedoms and rights of citizens and also ensure access to justice for all and sundry. The Heads of Court Roundtable canvasses adequate and prompt funding of the judiciaries in all jurisdictions across the country.
As heads of court, we are revered pace setters.
You must set down the right examples for your brother judges through your commitment to upholding the principles of justice, accountability, and fairness.
Effective court management system must be put in place for courts to swiftly discharge their functions. To this end, the National Judicial Policy, which was formulated by the National Judicial Council in 2016, reiterated thus, and the court strategies shall be put in place to achieve the goals of judicial administration.
The roundtable with the team strengthening the legal and judicial systems in Nigeria is aimed at repositioning the judiciary in Nigeria. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
African leaders must develop the culture of peace in their quest for power and allow the people determine who governs them in order to reduce the tension and violence gradually enveloping the continent. Former President Goodluck Jonathan, who was a guest at the 2024 International Peace Day, is concerned that despite this, many African leaders have shifted attention from entrenching good governance to grabbing and retaining power. David Ide reports.
The 2024 International Day of Peace, organized by the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, is mainly to amplify the campaign for a peaceful society. Former President Goodluck Jonathan, having traversed the whole of Africa on peace-building mission, is convinced that the major challenge to peace on the continent is quest for power. The former president wondered why security agencies have to deploy several thousands of their men to achieve peace in the just concluded Edo governorship election, whereas the last presidential election in Senegal without security agencies was peaceful and credible.
We, the politicians, must know that what we do wrongly is wrong. And when we politicians justify evil things and say it is politics, somebody does something that is evil, say it's politics. It's not politics, they're a criminal.
Organizers of the event want every family to get involved in peace building in order to reduce global tension and warfare.
The whole essence of our being as human beings is to ensure the progress and the well-being of not only ourselves, but only of other people as well as the global community. And as many peaceful people that we have from the home front, at the diplomatic plane, in the international political arena, they're most likely going to be talking about peace.
If really you are representing the people, always allow their will to be done. Don't coerce them or create crisis to get into power.
While the former President Goodluck Jonathan became the second fellow of the National Peace Institute after General Yakubu Gowon, the chairman House of Representatives Committee on Banking, Eze Nwanchukwu, emerged the first recipient of the Institute's Peace Award. In Abuja, David Ire, NTA News.
The Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room and its accredited member organizations on the September 21, 2024 Edo State Governorship elections have commended Independent National Electoral Commission for the deployment of the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, which enabled a relatively smooth accreditation and voting process. This was at the release of its final statement on the election. Timothy Yusuf reports.
The Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room and its accredited member organizations deployed observers across the local government areas in Edo State to observe the election. Situation Room submitted that the election experienced a slow start as a result of logistical challenges, which led to the late commencement of polls across several polling units. Although the voting process was concluded in a relatively peaceful atmosphere, the results collation process in some local government areas were not peaceful. Situation Room and its member organizations therefore call on INEC to investigate polling officials and collation officers involved in the violations of the guidelines on results collation.
The statement called on INEC to invoke its powers under Section 65 of the Electoral Act 2022 to review any declarations and returns where results were not declared voluntarily or violated provisions of the Electoral Act and INEC regulations and guidelines.
Situation Room also called on security agencies to keep up providing updates on the prosecution of those arrested during the elections and information on the disciplinary steps taken against its officers who enabled any form of election malpractice. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Up next is our weather report. This is where we end the news. Many thanks for being part of it. I am Charles Alpha Courage. He has been which interpreter.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you. In your living room, office, and everywhere, anywhere. We provide a company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, Go TV channel. And to watch NTA International in the USA, Canada, and Mexico, use the following satellite parameters. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
The world we live in is to be protected by all as it sustains both plant and animal life. Maintaining an equilibrium, environmentalists say, is necessary in ensuring an adequate number of resources for all organisms. This, therefore, implies that conservation efforts must be embraced by all people across communities, nations, and continents of the world. On this edition of Frontiers, we will be turning attention to illegal wildlife trade, a harmful activity which is giving conservationists, environmentalists, and other stakeholders great concern. I am Frama Hanyi. Our guest is Benga Kolawole, Head Conservation Monitoring National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, NESRA. Glad to have you join us on the program.
It's my pleasure.
We will take an excerpt to chart the course of today's discuss.
2.5 tons, approximately 2,436.15 kilograms, and 9 billion naira worth of these animal parts are being destroyed, sending a very strong message, particularly to wildlife traffickers and traders trading in prohibited animal parts.
In Africa, elephants are a symbol of majesty and greatness, but they are slaughtered for their ivory, which is then illegally traded across the world.
Only last year, the National Environmental Standards Regulation and Enforcement Agency, NESRIA, incinerated seized pangolin scales, pythons and crocodiles, and pulverized elephant tusk and worked ivory as a demonstration of Nigeria's commitment to the provisions of multilateral environmental agreements, protocols, conventions and treaties to which it is a signatory.
Most of these items are not gotten from Nigeria. We have some, but some of them are trafficked through Nigeria, giving our nation a very bad name. So with this exercise, it's going to send a very strong signal.
It's extremely important, and it's a great message to show wildlife traffickers, people who would bring elephant ivory into the country, to know that it's going to get seized and it's going to be destroyed and you're not going to make any money.
Minister of State for Environment, Isiaq Salako, takes the issue of endangered species and crimes against wildlife seriously, and Nigeria being a major transit hub for these illegal wildlife trafficking is not going down well with the ministry, NESRIA, and their partners.
Nigeria is sending very, very clear signal, unambiguous, that the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not tolerate illegal wild crimes.
The most recent African elephant status report estimates that about 415,000 elephants remain in Africa today, compared to over 1.3 million elephants found in the continent in 1979, and only 400 found in Nigeria today.
Once again, you're welcome to Frontiers.
Thank you.
Now let's get straight into the business of the day. Now there is the need to not only protect the environment, but also conserve wildlife. What efforts are being put in place in this regard in Nigeria?
The name of my agency has been mentioned, National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency. As the name implies, is an enforcement agency on environmental matters. Our job is simple. It's just to enforce anything that is called law, anything that is policy, anything that is guidelines, anything that is regulations. So, and we have some of these policies, law, protocols, regulations, guidelines. We have them both at local level and international level. So, we have the international environmental agreements, protocols, conventions, and treaties. Same thing, some of these protocols, agreements, conventions, and treaties have been domesticated because Nigeria is a party to those international agreements. And it is a responsibility of every country who is a party to those international environmental agreements to have those agreements domesticated in their country. That is to say, to bring down the provisions of those agreements as it applies to their own environments and whatever the ecosystem is constituted of. So, and in this context, we have Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, Wildlife, of Wild Fauna and Flora. So that is CITES. And CITES has been domesticated in Nigeria as far back as 1985. After it was signed, Nigeria signed CITES as far back as 1973-74. They call it Washington Convention. So not until 1985 before Nigeria could domesticate it. And that is to say, to bring that context into our localities, what they have at international level, what are those things that are similar to that in Nigeria that is different from the general international provisions. So that convention was domesticated with the act that was established in 1985 called Endangered Species Control of International Trade Act. So this was the first law that we have in Nigeria to domesticate CITES. And not until 2011, after the coming of my agency, the agency came on board in 2007. And as of 2011, we were able to, again, complement the existing, that is the act, by promulgating or developing regulations. And this regulation was named or was gazetted as the National Environmental Protection of Endangered Species in International Trade, Regulation 2011. So these two national laws and regulations basically meant to protect our wildlife, especially those that have been listed to be endangered. That is, their populations in the wild has really gone down. And if care is not taken, they will go into extinction. We will not see them again. So to control them against unlawful international trade. So these are the first efforts areas that were made to ensure that our endangered species are not are protected against international trade or unlawful act for commercial reasons.
Now, threats, or extinction of wildlife is a global concern. And there are environmental laws and multilateral environmental agreements, as you've just mentioned some, protocols, conventions, and treaties, Can you let us into some of these treaties that Nigeria is a signatory to?
When we talk of biological resources, I've mentioned CITES.
Yes.
When we have also Convention on Biodiversity, we call that one CBD. We have Convention on Migratory Species, CMS. And like some of these conventions, they have their protocols. Now, protocols is also an international document that was agreed upon. But it is not as wide as in what constitutes protocol is not as wide as the conventions and treaties. So, for instance, African nations, they can decide to come together and say, from the convention, let's look at our peculiarities. What is it that is common to us in Africa? So let's agree on it as an Africa, so that it's not just about the convention, because convention is international and it's all about the global. It's all about the whole world. But we now, here in Africa, we have elephants. It's common to us in Africa. Maybe you can't find that in Europe. We have pangolins common to us in Africa. We have rhinoceros common to us in Africa. So what can we do to bring out a more stringent provisions compared to the conventions? So that is protocol at that level. Then after the protocol, then you have the national laws. So like CBD, we do have Nagoya Protocol, we do have Kyoto Protocol. So Nagoya Protocol is a protocol that decides or that was put in place to control issue of access to genetic resources in Africa. So because we are not an industrialized nations yet, but those industrialized countries, if they have to come to our nations, Africa, to access, to use some of our products, then what is going to be our benefits from the usage of that products or our biological resources. So that is what the Nagoya Protocol is all about. So we have protocols, we have conventions, we have treaties. Sometimes they are just like semantics. So, but anything, treaties, if you call it protocols, if you call it conventions, call it agreements, they are multilateral. They are things that join countries or nations together.
What is this collaboration like, with some of these bodies, these international bodies you've mentioned? What is it like working with them?
Well, there are no international bodies at this level, but there are other nations of the world. The collaboration, the collaboration is more with the nation that you are having similar things to protect. Like Nigeria, we want to collaborate with Cameroon because we share border, and along the corridors of our borders, we have elephants that is common to us. We have pangolins that is common to us. We have species of trees that are common to us. So that is where we collaborate. So that is on that context we collaborate. And when you go to Africa at large, we collaborate on the issue of elephant because elephants are found, across the world of Africa, African nations. So that at that level, once you have a country that's having something similar to you, like I told you, Nagoya Protocol. So we have genetic resources, biological resources that are common to us in Africa in terms of fauna, that is animal, and flora, which is plant.
Mr. Kolawole, we'll take a short break now. We will come back and continue the discussion. This is Frontiers, and we're taking a look at the illegal wildlife trade. The conversation continues shortly. Glad to know you're still there. The discussion continues. Let's pick up from where we stopped before we went on the break. Now, you mentioned CITES earlier. CITES trade, at a point, Nigeria was suspended from being a part of that trade, but it was lifted, the suspension was lifted, of course, in 2011, of course, through a well-coordinated effort of Interagency Committee on CITES enforcement in Nigeria. Can you tell us what led to this suspension?
The Honorable Minister of Environment, when we carried the national project in the disposal of the ivories that are under the custody of the agency, he did write in his keynote address how Nigeria was suspended, and it is not anything other than the gaps that was there in the enforcement of our wildlife laws that led to, excessiveness in the trade of our wildlife species in Africa or in Nigeria, and these products are being traded across the ports and border posts of the country, going into the Western world, Asian part of the nation of the world, without any regulations. And the convention does not allow that, because before anything can move out of a particular country to another country, the provision by CITES is that the country of origin must be able to issue a permit on that thing that is meant to be traded upon across the ports and borders of the country to another nation. So where those things are done unlawfully or illegally, that is without all these permits, permission and issuance of permit, then it calls for concern. So for so many years before the suspension came about, that was around 2006, thereabouts. Because as 2011, it was 6 years with the suspension in international trade to Nigeria. So before that time, suspension came on board. The nations, societies, they have discovered the lacuna in our enforcement, that these things are just moving out of the country without any permits, and it seems not to be regulated. So, and to discourage that, that was the reason why Nigeria was placed on suspension, that anything that comes from Nigeria will not be acceptable in any part of the world as relates to animal products or plant products. So until 2011, after the coming of the agency, before Nigeria was created or established, Nigeria used to have FEPA, Federal Environmental Protection Agency. It was FEPA that was metamorphosized into Ministry of Environment in 1999. So between 1999 and the time of creation of Nigeria, the enforcement of relevant environmental or wildlife laws was almost totally at zero level. Okay. Because Ministry of Environment is a policy organ of government, policy maker.
Yeah.
So there was no distinguished enforcement arm of government on this issue of wildlife for that period, between 1999 and 2007 when NSA was created. So within that period, we had that gap. So that was what led to the suspension. So after the coming of the agency in 2007, then so the agency had to look at this issue, because we can't continue in that line. It does, of course, put the nation in the dark, bad light, the dark situations among the nations of the world. So what can we do to have our seat back in the Committee of CITES? So that was what led to all those actions that were taken then. And through the good collaboration between the agency and the Honorable Minister of Environment then, so we were able to come up with the strategies. Among those strategies before the regulation came on board was how to relate with the World Secretariat to CITES, the National Secretariat of CITES in Geneva, and to consult the Secretariat. These are the things Nigeria wants to put in place and how we want to put in place. So we related with the agency, related with the Secretariat then, and we were able to come up with some of those strategies, like the development of the regulation I said earlier on.
Yeah.
And the regulation was sent to the Secretariat for them to peruse it, vet it, and look at the standards. This regulation was scored at Category 1. Wow. And after then the CITES Secretariat delegates were invited to Nigeria to come and conduct workshop to interagency committee that were formed that time. And that committee comprised of course, Nigeria was the chairman then of that committee, under the supervision of the Honorable Minister of Environment, and comprised some of the other organizations that have mandates that relates to environment and at the same time enforcement. So this committee we carried out mass what we call mass raid of corners where people are illegally trading some of this wildlife, just to show to the world the seriousness of the nation. And on that note, we were eventually granted a lifted or suspension of the...
All right. Now, Nigeria has been identified as one of the 4 poaching hubs in Africa and also a major transit hub, for illegal wildlife trafficking due to its porous nature of, national borders. Can you briefly, quickly summarize to us what measures are being put in place to address this headlong trouble?
We have National Stakeholders Forum, aimed at combating wildlife and forest crime in Nigeria. We have collaborations, working collaboration with many organizations, especially those ones that are in ports and border posts of the country. Then we have international developed partners that we collaborate with, that UNODC, like US Embassy, and the rest of them. Some of these international developed partners, they assist us in periods with building capacity, and at the same time, coming up with documents that are strategically developed to combat illegal wildlife and forest crime in Nigeria. They build our capacity in the area of enforcement, investigations, and even the prosecutions to make sure that we are able to curtail these excesses that are coming from scrupulous individuals that want to legally take our resources out of the shore of Nigeria.
Mr. Kolawole Benga Joshua, it's really been a pleasure talking with you, and it's been really enlightening. Thank you for coming on the program. On this edition of Frontiers, we had been taking a look at the illegal wildlife trade and efforts to address the problem in Nigeria. And our guest, Benga Kolawole, head Conservation Monitoring National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, NESRA. I am Frama Kanyi.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you. In your living room, office, and everywhere, anywhere. We provide a company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, Go TV channel. And to watch NTA International in the USA, Canada, and Mexico, use the following satellite parameters. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world. dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day. NTA International is with you. In your living room, office, and everywhere, anywhere. We provide a company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best.
This is the network service of the NTA.
At Home Options, you're welcome to a world of elegance. Home Options, live well.
Diadem family! Hey, we go here today.
Billy Tolerant Obakuma Kudansaki. Back then I used to be Rasaki, but now I'm rebranded. Call me Shegun, you can call me no guest.
How did you meet your lovely wife?
It was an amazing journey.
Adewale, mention a characteristic of a deceitful person.
Cheating. You're corny. Pretense.
You're selfish.
A new edition of TV Guide is out.
This time, we got up close and personal with the transformational legislator, the Deputy President of the Senate, distinguished Senator Barrow Jibrin.
It created a difference in terms of representation through interventions that have brought an unprecedented infrastructural development to my area.
This edition is a compendium of mind-blowing stories for your reading pleasure, ranging from technology, entertainment, economy, media, politics, family, and lots more.
It is indeed a park of excitement as we take you through every aspect of life. Pick up your copy and get abreast with issues and trending features within our space.
TV Guide, very incisive, very educative and compelling. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
We all get that party where they get your back anytime or day. E go carry a matter for head like say na your own. Na so Go TV tanda for your side as your party for correct enjoyment. We not a tear pocket. For this Go TV Super Plus Golden Window, you fit touchlight all the 380 Premier League games, correct local shows, and better film. We day for you. Make your sharply upgrade or recharge your Go TV on top Super Plus to enjoy every today. The Super Plus Golden Window don't come out money now. Not do yourself, oh. Go TV. Love it.
The race to qualify for the biggest football competition in Africa is on, the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. 48 teams in 12 groups, with only the top 2 teams in each group qualifying for the African Cup of Nations in 2025 in Morocco. Don't miss the action, suspense and unrivaled coverage on AfroSport TV and its affiliates partners across Nigeria, starting from September 2024 to November 2024. AfroSport, your freedom of sport.
This Saturday, Chelsea,
Jackson, 1-0. This is Matoma.
Brighton,
And well there.
Maiduguri, Chelsea looking for another early goal in this half, and they've got it.
Big chance, big goal. João Pedro.
Chelsea versus Brighton. Live on Sporty TV.
Sportybet sponsors coverage of the English.
You go laugh, you go shine your teeth. Oh, jibby, you go shine your teeth. So cool, so.
It's a pleasure to welcome you to yet another edition of NAFDAC and Your Health, where NAFDAC, the agency that is charged with the responsibility of safeguarding the health of Nigerians, intimates. My name is Amanda Ugo. This edition of NAFDAC and Your Health is centered basically on NAFDAC's investigation and enforcement activities. It will look at how the agency strives to rid the society of fake and unwholesome regulated products and the efforts made to bring violators to book. And then the second segment will focus on the various raids NAFDAC carried out in recent past. This will dovetail into the destruction exercises done towards ensuring that the confiscated products do not get back onto the society. Of safeguarding the health of Nigerians may not have required stern regulatory strategies and stiff methods of enforcing adherence to stipulated guidelines as provided for in the Nigerian Constitution, if not for defiant manufacturers, exporters, marketers, and distributors who, in spite of all entreaties by NAFDAC, have continued to violate the regulatory laws. The activities of these recalcitrant producers and dealers of products that pose risk to the health of the Nigerian public makes NAFDAC, through her investigation and enforcement directorate, to always be at alert to trail, discover, nab, and subsequently prosecute them if and when found guilty.
Our investigation and enforcement office does a lot. And it's not just investigation and enforcement. We have the inspectorate. Whether it is drug, whether it is food, whether it is veterinary medicine, whether it's narcotics, we have inspectorate. They start with the enforcement. For example, the good manufacturing practice type inspector goes to a company. If that company has flagrantly violated, they can shut down the company. That is the beginning of inspection. If there is resistance, they call investigation and enforcement. We have about 80 policemen that work with us on a daily basis because we have the law behind us, C-34 bill, that says we can arrest anybody that is trying to violate our regulations. That is just the inspectorate. The post-marketing surveillance inspectorate also has the power to shut down.
Arrested violators are usually prosecuted and sanctioned, but according to the NAFDAC DG, more has to be done in this regard to make intending violators desist from the unlawful practices.
The outcomes of sanctions, when it goes to the court, do better as a country. You cannot give somebody that falsified medicine that can kill another person 3 years or pay 200,000 naira. We are now, our C-34 law is in the House now, in the National Assembly. We are trying to change it. We are trying to make the fines much stiffer. Because if there is no deterrent, people will repeat it, will repeat the offense. So we can do better, but that's where we have found ourselves as a country, unfortunately, but the legislators are working on it.
One of the prosecutions that stemmed out of the investigation and enforcement activities of NAFDAC that had suspects arrested for offenses that contravene NAFDAC's regulations was heard in court recently. This was the case of 2 suspects arrested for dealing in fake body sprays. The manufacturers of Riggs brand body sprays had approached NAFDAC to lodge a complaint that their products were being counterfeited and sold in large into the Nigerian market. NAFDAC men from the investigation and enforcement unit promptly swung into action in the usual manner, and their efforts yielded positive results on the 18th of January when they arrested 2 suspects in connection with the reported crime. The suspects, Friday Emmanuel Chieze and Nnam Ifeanyi Kingsley, were on the said date arrested at Brono Plaza, D007, Balogun Business Association, Trade Fair Complex, Lagos, where they plied their illicit trade. They were taken into custody while full investigation into the case began. These suspects were recently arraigned by NAFDAC before the Federal High Court in Lagos for dealing, storing, and selling unregistered body spray named Riggs. At the arraignment, the prosecutor, Ngozi Ima Afoike, told the court that the two defendants committed the offences on January 18, 2024. According to the prosecutor, all the illegal acts of the defendants contravene sections 1, subsection 1 and 1 subsection 4 AII of the Food, Drugs and Related Products Registration (ETC) Act Cap F33 LFN 2004 and punishable under section 6 and 17 subsection 1 of the same act. The two defendants, however, pleaded not guilty to the allegations. The Investigation and Enforcement Director of NAFDAC continues to carry out raids through her state and zonal offices. Some of the recent raids include that of Agaba Table and Sachet Water, Obudu Town, Cross River State. The water factory had relocated from its registered location to another location not approved by NAFDAC and was producing under a different name other than the one approved by NAFDAC. In addition, the factory was producing under bad manufacturing practice. In the same vein, in Ogbomoso, Oyo State, a team led by the Southwest Zonal Director, Mrs. Roseline Ajayi, uncovered an unregistered bakery producing under the abysmally poor GMP. Also in the town, the team discovered an unregistered water packaging factory operating with an expired license. The company also engaged in contract manufacture for other unregistered products. In Okeari, Lake Island, an illegal alcohol manufacturing company was also recently uncovered. There, various brands of alcoholic drinks and beverages were being manufactured and sold to the open market. Rooms converted to factories were discovered, improvised production items and flyers, as well as several cartons of various brands of drinks, corks and labels, and already produced and packaged drinks worth over 2 billion naira were discovered and evacuated. 3 suspects were arrested in connection with the illegal production. As these raids continue, confiscated products gathered are destroyed during destruction exercises carried out at intervals. Barely a month ago, in Enugu State, southeast Nigeria, fake and adulterated products worth over 2 billion naira were destroyed. The products, including rice and assorted drinks, were confiscated by NAFDAC from dealers in the 5 southeast states. During the destruction exercise, which took place at the Enugu State Waste Management Authority dump site, Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, who was represented by the Southeast Zonal Director of NAFDAC, Mr. Iluyomade Martins, stated that the total value of the products being destroyed was worth over 2,664,548,683 naira 33 kobo in street value. Another of such destruction exercise again recently took place at the dilapidated dump site in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. The NAFDAC Director General, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, speaking through the Director, Investigation and Enforcement, Mr. Shaba Mohammed, who represented her at the event, explained the categories of products destroyed and how they were gathered.
The products being destroyed in this exercise are made up of substandard, falsified medical products, unwanted processed food products, food additives, medical unsafe cosmetics, counterfeit and expired NAFDAC products seized by the agency from manufacturers, importers, and disposers. Also for destruction are damaged and expired products, which were voluntarily handed over to NAFDAC by compliant companies, non-governmental organizations, and those mopped up by trade unions in drug selling locations across the country to the agency. The estimated street value of the product being destroyed today is 43 billion naira. This is a large waste on our common wealth. If this product being destroyed today, we're actually genuine products, they never had issues, I think we wouldn't be witnessing this destruction exercise. For a country to have products to the tune of 43 billion in just one location being destroyed, cause for concern. The agency also carry out several hawkers raid exercises. And during this hawkers raid, we seize products which shouldn't be in circulations. The products being hawked by hawkers, of course, are not medically fit for consumption because they've been exposed to elements in and environment. And then the act that established counterfeit and fake drugs also states that such products should not be sold in marketplaces, in moving vehicles, in kiosks, and shouldn't be hawked. And that was why we mopped up all those things from circulations. And part of this destruction exercise are products that we mopped up from hawkers rates and to the tune of 48 million naira. That is quite huge. Then apart from that too, through intelligent gathering, we raided warehouses, sell distribution outlets, and we're also able to get some products that shouldn't be in the hands of some unscrupulous elements. Those are Schedule 1 narcotics. They also form part of what we are going to, destroy in this exercise. And they are worth about 700 million. Some other products for destruction today are products that were mopped up from circulation during our investigation and enforcement, raids. They include illicit and registered pharmaceutical products, such as codeine. Even though it's been banned, people still take pleasure in trading in them. And each time any of them is caught, either by NAFDAC or even NTA, I think they know, the consequences of that. So the products generally, we have expired tramadol, we have aphrodisiacs, anti-malarials, and many other registered drugs. Others are contraband drugs that actually have been banned from being imported into the country. You have tomato paste, unregistered and counterfeit drinks, food products, perfumes, body sprays, and agrochemicals.
The NAFDAC DG also reiterated the agency's commitment to rid the society of this product, enumerating strategies employed by the agency to curb the activities of the peddlers of such products, part of which is the establishment of 4 national coordinated wholesale centers across the country. She added that the coordinating Minister of Health, Professor Muhammad Ali Pate, is set to inaugurate the federal and state task forces on counterfeit and fake drugs and unwholesome processed foods at a date to be announced soon. Pharmacist Shaba Mohammed, speaking in his capacity as the Director, Investigation and Enforcement, spoke about the assiduous work done by the Directorate to uncover the illicit activities that led to the existence of the products being destroyed. Also in attendance at the destruction exercise were the representative of the Southwest Zonal Director of NAFDAC, Mrs. Rosaline Ajayi, the representative of the Oyo State Commissioner of Environment and Natural Resources, as well as stakeholders like NDLEA, the Anti-Narcotics Unit of the Nigerian Police, and the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
The program continues after the short break. Please stay with us.
As part of NAFDAC concerted effort to prevent incessant food poisoning and to safeguard the health of the nation, the agency wishes to advise the general public to take the following precautionary measures in food handling. Chemicals are not food, so do not taste with your tongue. It is dangerous to health and it can kill. It is dangerous to cook your meat with paracetamol or any drug. It can damage your liver, kidneys, or other organs. Do not ripen your fruits with calcium carbide. It can cause cancer or damage the kidneys or liver. It is dangerous to use sniper to keep insects and other flies away from any food products. Cooking does not remove sniper. Do not consume any mixture or herbal preparation that do not have NAFDAC number. It could be deadly. Too much monosodium glutamate food seasoning that comes as cube or in sachet can be dangerous to your health. Do not add any chemical to food or drink to make it sour or improve taste. Safe food. Everyone's business. NAFDAC. Safeguarding the health of the nation.
Welcome back. You are still watching NAFDAC and Your Health.
And now, moving on to NAFDAC news updates. Following the unfortunate flood incidents that ravaged Maiduguri and its environs, which submerged markets, including the Gomboro drug market, and the washing and sun-drying of affected food items and drugs by sellers, for the purpose of selling to the public, the NAFDAC DG has directed immediate closure of the markets for a proper shop-to-shop mopping of the drugs and food items. The NAFDAC DG said these products pose serious health risks as they definitely would have been contaminated by harmful bacteria and harmful substances, and washing and sun-drying and spraying them with pesticides will not remove the contaminants in them, and the use or consumption of the products can lead to life-threatening infections, adverse reactions, reduce efficacy and heighten risks of disease transmission. The Director, North East of NAFDAC, Mr. Kenneth Azikwe, expressed the agency's sympathy on the flood disaster in Maiduguri and its environs, adding that the evacuation exercise involves officials from Borno, Yobe and Gombe State.
Products have been exposed and submerged in water. It's no longer of good quality. The integrity will be compromised, and such products should not be consumed by the public. Instead of buying them, submit them to the authority so that we will destroy them.
As NAFDAC continues to collaborate with the Ministry of Health and other relevant agencies to ensure the safety of drugs and other consumables in the state, the agency's swift response after the flood has brought hope to the communities affected by the flood incidents in Borno State. That was NAFDAC Update. You have been updated.
Thank you for watching today's episode of NAFDAC and Your Health. We shall be back again, same time, same station next week for another insightful package. If you have any information on the activity of peddlers of fake, expired or substandard food products, drugs, cosmetics or medical equipment, please do not hesitate to reach out to NAFDAC.
You can reach NAFDAC via toll-free numbers. For inquiries, call 0700 162 3322. For complaints, call 0800 162 3322. You may also email NAFDAC at nafdac.gov.ng. If you have complaints about any form of misconduct, you can reach the Reforms Unit via email reforms@nafdac.gov.ng or call the Reforms hotlines on 0909 763 0506 or 0909 763 0507. NAFDAC, customer focused, agency minded.
Do not forget that it is criminal to produce, import, market, distribute, advertise or sell unwholesome food products, fake or substandard drugs, chemical and medical equipment. Do not engage in these unlawful acts that endanger the lives of the Nigerian people. Make it a date with us on our next episode. Until then, goodbye.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you. In your living room, office, and everywhere, anywhere. We provide a company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, Go TV channel. And to watch NTA International in the USA, Canada, and Mexico, use the following satellite parameters. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
Nigeria's energy company, NNPC Limited, is in talks with investors to revitalize 2 LNG projects in the country. The talks, part of the nation's efforts to maximize its natural gas resources, were initiated at the 2024 Gas Technology Conference and Exhibition in Houston, USA. It's the world's largest exhibition and conference for natural gas, climate technologies, low-carbon solutions, and artificial intelligence. While NNPC Limited took advantage of the conference to engage investors and shared its energy plans for today and energy security for the future. That's our major talking point tonight. Hello there and welcome to the program. This is Energy and You, a show that brings you weekly updates on events and issues in Nigeria's energy sector with a focus on NNPC Limited. I'm Egosa Igumbo. Also on this episode, A promising joint venture agreement between NNPC Limited and Total Energies for a $550 million Ubeta upstream gas project. And in solidarity with the victims, NNPC Limited makes donations to Borno State in the aftermath of the flood disaster that ravaged communities. Details of these stories and much more in a moment. Please join us again. Thanks for staying with us. Now we begin the show with trending international energy stories for the week. Nigeria has commenced discussion with Libya for a regional gas pipeline construction project. Minister of Petroleum Resources, Gas, Ekpo, gave the hint after a meeting with Libya's Minister of Oil, Dr. Khalifa Abdul Al-Sadiq, on the sidelines of the just concluded Gas Tech Exhibition and Conference 2024 in Houston, USA. Ekpo said that potential gas pipeline will begin from Nigeria to Libya. The partnership aims to strengthen energy cooperation between the two nations, which are key oil and gas producers in Africa. The cross-border pipeline is expected to transport gas from Nigeria to other African nations and the European markets upon completion. Oil prices rose slightly at the start of this week after last week's cut to U.S. interest rates and a dip in U.S. crude supply in the aftermath of Hurricane Francine, which countered weaker demand from top oil importer China. Brent crude futures for November edged up by 14 cents to $74.63 a barrel. It registered its second consecutive weekly gains last week after the U.S. Federal Reserve cut interest rates by half a percentage point, showing a larger decrease in borrowing costs than many expected. Shell Company has announced it would shut production at its Stones and Appomattox facilities in the Gulf of Mexico as a precautionary measure in response to a tropical disturbance. The company says it is currently in the process of safely pausing some of its drilling operations and currently have no other impact on production across the Gulf of Mexico, adding that it has also begun evacuating non-essential personnel from its assets in the Mars Corridor. The U.S. National Hurricane Center had warned that a system located near the Gulf of Mexico had a 50% chance of becoming a cyclone very quickly. The government that takes power in Austria after next Sunday's general election will face growing pressure to diversify its energy supply away from dependence on Russian gas, just as the economy is stuck on reverse gear, and the result could influence the speed of the energy transition. Since Moscow invaded Ukraine in 2022, the European Union has moved to rapidly replace Russian gas imports, even though Austria is among the most reliant on Russian gas within the bloc. Despite that, the EU has committed to phasing out Russian gas by 2027, and Austria's Green Run Energy Ministry wants to accelerate the process. Nevertheless, in July, Austria was still drawing 83% of its imported gas from Russia. By comparison, in 2023, the proportion of EU gas imported from Russia had fallen to 15%.
Welcome to Gas Tech 2024. We can harness the power of natural gas, embrace new technologies, create new jobs, accelerate economic growth, and set a standard for the rest of the world. Together, let's seize this moment, fuel tomorrow's innovations, and forge partnerships that lay the groundwork for a sustainable and thriving future.
You're watching Energy and You. Now, Nigeria was at the just concluded 52nd edition of the Gas Technology Conference and Exhibition, Gas Tech, which held in Houston, Texas, United States of America. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Honorable Ekpo, led Nigeria's delegation, which had board members and top management of NNPC Limited. Partnerships were discussed with world-class energy companies. Nigeria showcased its innovations and investment opportunities in a bid to harness the country's abundant gas resources. Let's watch this.
The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Gas, Right Honorable Ekperipe Ekpo, joined top energy ministers and officials from Egypt, Turkey, India and the US in a ministerial panel to address critical industry-wide issues of decarbonization, energy security, sustainability and accessibility. Honorable Ekpo emphasized Nigeria's unique position and tremendous investment opportunities in natural gas development. He explained the significant impact of the Petroleum Industry Act (PIA) and the presidential initiatives which have governed activities in the sector.
The president has made some policies and the executive orders to ensure tax incentive, exemption and remission to encourage investors to come into the sector and invest. And so it is an avenue to tell the world that Nigeria is open for business. Anybody that wants to come, any company that wants to come and invest in Nigeria, you are welcome. All the conditions has been relaxed. It provides a conducive environment for you to invest and make even for your investment. So Nigeria is open. So I welcome all of us to identify with Nigeria. Beyond this, going green, we are collaborating with other countries, like the negotiation we had with Assistant Secretary Payat with his team. We talk about energy, hydrogen development, solar power. Though that one we have started in our country by the Power Ministry, and of course looking into the nuclear aspect of it. So we are really committed to the task of making sure we don't contribute anything negative emission into the atmosphere. Rather, we work towards mitigating the climate change.
Speaking on the takeaway from the event, the Executive Vice President, Gas, Power and New Energy, Olalekan Ogunleye, said the focus of NNPC Limited is building sustainable partnerships that will boost production growth targets in the oil and gas industry. He emphasized that NNPC Limited remains the #1 business destination in Nigeria, even as he rallied investors to take advantage of the conducive business environment created by the PIA.
Most energy sector participants are keen to meet with us. We also focused on opening new relationships. We just concluded a meeting with PetroChina. We have other meetings lined up. All the big corporates want to meet with us, and it's all about growing new opportunities. It's about partnerships. So the message is the same. In NNPC today, we're about collaboration, we're about partnership. It's not about contracting.
The Managing Director, NNPC Shipping Limited, was also at the event. He has this to say on his company's participation.
So the conversation so far, and with the breakthrough we did this year on LNG especially, which by the way was mentioned by Minister Ekpo in his inaugural speech in the conference, for the first time NTL, NNPC Shipping and Trading working together, delivering Nigerian cargoes to Far East customers. So this is what we want to do. We want to bring Nigerian oil and gas to the customers directly. And this is our biggest plan, and this is why there is so much interest about Nigeria and NNPC in particular.
The 52nd Gas Tech 2024, under the banner of Transforming Energy Through Vision, Innovation and Action, brought together key decision makers in the global energy industry who have pledged to accelerate the energy transition conversations and deliver on global net zero ambitions.
Let's go. Energy for today, energy for tomorrow.
Still on Nigeria's participation at the Gas Tech, the National Energy Company has expressed its desire to revive the Bras and Olokola LNG project in continued efforts to maximize Nigeria's abundant gas resources for economic prosperity and development. The commitment was disclosed at the Houston conference by the company's Chief Financial Officer, Umar Ajia.
GasTech 2024 afforded world energy companies the opportunity to showcase their advancements in technology artificial intelligence, manufacturing, as well as discuss policies that will drive their individual journeys in hydrocarbon utilization. In a chat with the media on the sidelines of the conference, NNPC Limited's Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Omar Ajiya, disclosed that the company is partnering with global energy experts to address critical challenges and explore innovative solutions aimed at ensuring energy security and promoting a low-carbon, decarbonized future. In that regard, NNPC Limited has begun discussions with investors towards bringing back 2 liquefied natural gas LNG projects, Braz and Olokola LNG projects.
We have also met partners who are willing to come and invest in Nigeria towards new gas projects. And at the same time, these are not just people coming to invest, but they are people who also have the capacity in terms of funding and technology to support us drive those projects. People are willing to come and partner with us to re-energize and bring back projects like OK LNG and Braz LNG on the table.
While describing NNPC Limited as a commercially driven company which recognizes timely project development and execution, the CFO said there are abundant gas resources in many parts of the world, and therefore, the earlier Nigeria makes smart decisions to bring partners to the table, the better. Ajiya commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his support in driving new in the industry through the presidential executive orders on oil and gas reforms.
We are happy that we have a new president who has a private sector perspective, and he's ready to support NNPC to drive and bring new projects on the table. And of course, what is also helping is that the PIA itself has provided additional fiscal incentives for investors, which was not there before. So a combination of this is making the investors' appetite rekindled, and therefore Nigeria is ready to welcome them back to get those projects up again.
With the commitment of NNPC Limited to revive the projects, it holds the potential manifold economic benefits for Nigeria, which includes job creation, power generation, revenue generation, and economic diversification. The Chief Financial Officer also described gas tech as an avenue for NNPC Limited to learn new technologies which will help the company decarbonize its operations and promote its abundant LNG resources to the global markets. Gas Tech is the world's leading forum dedicated to delivering a more sustainable energy future by bringing together experts who brainstorm to create pathways towards global energy security for lasting climate impact.
Well, let's take a short break here, but there'll be plenty more when we return. Please stay. You are still watching Energy and You. Now, more arrests of pipeline vandals have been recorded in the last 1 week. Let's give you an update on the ongoing war against crude oil theft and infrastructure vandalism by NNPC Limited.
Here is a suspected act of vandalism discovered by security personnel in the Ihu axis of Rivers State. The war on crude oil theft is on, and the industry-wide security collaboration on hydrocarbon infrastructure continues to record remarkable progress. Between the 14th and 20th of September 2024, a total of 281 incidents were recorded across the Niger Delta region. These incidents were detected and reported by Tantita Security Agency, Shell Petroleum Development Company, Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited, Maton Engineering Nigeria Limited, Owando PLC, Hares Energies, NNPC 18, NNPC Limited's Command and Control Centers, and government security agencies. In Bayelsa State, a major illegal operation was disrupted when security personnel dismantled an illegal crude connection line at Ikensi. The line, hidden beneath layers of terrain, was siphoning crude oil, contributing to environmental degradation and substantial losses for the nation. Additional illicit connections were discovered and repaired at Ogbengbiri and Igbematuru. Similarly, in Delta State, an illegal connection in the Mosogar axis was destroyed, while in Rivers State, connections at Bakana 6 and Alakiri were neutralized. Illegal refineries, referred to as ovens by locals, were destroyed by security forces. In Nembe, Abedingbene, Igbomaturu, and Brass in Bayelsa State, several makeshift sites processing stolen crude oil were demolished. Similar operations were carried out in Bakana 6, Asa, and Okrika 6 in Rivers State. On land, security personnel intercepted vehicles carrying stolen crude oil concealed in sacks at Bomadi and Ugeli North in Delta State. On water, the fight extended to Tombia and Bile in Rivers State, where wooden boats traditionally used to transport stolen crude were seized. The incidents were spread across 4 major corridors: 127 in the Central Corridor, 79 in the Eastern Corridor, 17 in the Western Corridor, and 58 in deep blue water. In total, 21 suspects were arrested during this period, all of whom have been handed over to government security agencies for further investigation. For NNPC Limited, there is no backing down on the war on crude oil until the menace is eradicated for good.
To report crude oil theft or suspicious activities within your area, call the numbers on your screen now, or send an email to report@stopcrudetheft.com. Handsome rewards await the whistleblower. Do your part. Report oil theft today.
Significant progress has been made in Nigeria's gas industry as NNPC Limited, in partnership with Total Energies, launched the $550 million Ubeta upstream gas project. This initiative is set to boost the country's gas production and enhance energy security. Here's more on this venture.
The $550 million upstream gas project between NNPC Limited and Total Energy is set to transform Nigeria's energy landscape. Discovered in 1964, the Ubeta field, located northwest of Port Harcourt, Rivers State, is now on track to produce 350 million standard cubic feet of gas per day once fully operational. Speaking at the inaugural USA-Nigeria Strategic Energy Dialogue held in Washington, D.C., Special Advisor to the President on Energy, Oluvehen, revealed that this project is part of the President's broader energy reforms since assuming office in June 2023. She stated that the President has introduced critical initiatives to boost energy security, attract foreign investment, and strengthen collaboration with global partners. Geoffrey Pyatt, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Energy Resources, during the dialogue emphasized the importance of collaboration between the two nations. He noted that the dialogue sets the stage for a stronger U.S.-Nigeria energy relationship advancing shared goals of energy security, decarbonization and economic growth. You will recall that the signing ceremony of the $550 million final investment decision on the Ubeta Fuel Development Project took place in Abuja in June this year. The Nigerian delegation at the dialogue was led by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Gas, Right Honorable Ekperikpe Ekpo, NNPC Limited, representatives from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Authority. The Ubeta Upstream Gas Project is expected to play a pivotal role in Nigeria's energy future, creating jobs, improving energy access and contributing to the nation's economic growth.
Introducing NNPC Foundation, established to set the pace for corporate social interventions in Nigeria and other key markets through capacity development programs, health-oriented initiatives, environmental sustainability, and providing access to energy. We are poised to empower and enrich the lives of Nigerians in a way that is sustainable, enduring, and impactful. We are not just another foundation. We are NNPC Foundation, creating a sustainable impact for a better tomorrow.
Now, in the wake of the devastating floods that recently swept through Borno State, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has stepped fashion and support. Through its corporate social responsibility arm, that's the NNPC Foundation, the company has delivered vital relief items to the affected communities, offering a lifeline to those in dire need. NNPC Limited's response was swift and heartfelt.
With donation of essential supplies aimed at supporting those in need and helping to ease the impact of the disaster, the items provided by NNPC Limited include food, toiletries, beddings, and other household necessities, all crucial for the survival and well-being of the flood victims. Represented by the Executive Vice President, Business Services, Mr. Danladi Inuwa, the company's Group Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Mele Kiari, conveyed a message of condolence and solidarity to the Borno State government and its people. In his response, the Governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, expressed appreciation to the management of NNPC Limited for the gesture. As the state grapples with the aftermath of this natural disaster, these donations offer a glimmer and a tangible demonstration of NNPC Limited's concern for the welfare of the affected communities. NNPC Limited's response to the Borno flood crisis is a testament to the company's unwavering commitment to its social responsibilities, SDG goals, and ESG principles. By extending a helping hand to those in need, NNPC Limited has not only provided material support, but also fostered a sense of unity and resilience within the affected communities. As recovery efforts continue, NNPC Limited's presence serves as a reminder that even in the face of adversity, there are organizations dedicated to standing with the people and offering the resources and support they so desperately need.
And that's our show today. Many thanks for investing your time with us. If you missed any part of the show or previous episodes, you can catch up by scanning the code on your screen now. And remember to follow us on all our social media handles to get updates of all activities of NNPC Limited. I'm Egusa. Bye for now.
The mosaic of time in the kaleidoscope of life. Time is a masterpiece. A delicate piece when we wait. A vibrant shard when we're late. A dark fragment when we're sad. A radiant tile when we're happy. An intricate pattern when we're in pain. A long, winding thread when we're bored. But time's mosaic is crafted by our hearts and our minds, not by clocks. So piece together your time wisely.
I don't know how to place value on people who don't place value on me.
What do you mean? You know I respect you so much.
In other words, you prefer this your status, me?
Calista, can you please help me with a client with legit money, please?
Lucky, leave me. Leave me. I go shout kidnap for your head.
Cholera is a serious bacterial infection. People become sick when they eat food or drink water contaminated by the bacteria Vibrio cholerae. The symptoms are severe diarrhea, dehydration, and even death if it's not properly treated. Here is how you can keep yourself and your family safe from cholera. Drink only clean, safe water at all times. Maintain excellent hand hygiene by using water and soap to wash your hands at all times, especially before you eat or after you go to the toilet. And if you don't have access to clean water when you need it, you can use alcohol-based sanitizers. Avoid eating from unhygienic food vendors. Cook your food thoroughly and, of course, wash your fruits and vegetables thoroughly before you eat them. If you or anyone you know becomes sick with diarrhea or vomiting, seek medical help immediately by going to the nearest health facility, because prompt treatment saves lives. Stay informed, stay safe, and protect our communities.
President Tinubu reaffirms commitment to mortgage refinancing as the United States commits about $320 million to the cause.
We're also concerned about the growing level of fiscal deficit.
Central Bank of Nigeria takes further steps to safeguard price stability.
Whether it's self-funded or treasury funded, that has not received any circular on this matter, specifically from the Commission, should contact the Commission for further directives.
President Tinubu approves revision of consolidated public service salary structure and 11 others effective 29th July 2024. Good evening and thanks for joining us on the Network News tonight. I am Olajide Bello. The CBN Policy Committee today explored ways to further reduce inflation in the country. An expert is in the studio to speak to the issue. Musa Abaka has more on business activities, while our sportsman Bade Adele is also on standby for some sporting stories. Bade, what should we look up for?
Well, Olajide, some former Super Eagles players are calling for an effective grassroots football development program, which they believe will help revive Nigeria's fortunes in the round level game.
Many thanks, buddy. You can follow us live on our website, nta.ng/live, NTA News Now on X, and our other social media platforms on the screen. Now let's start with the United Nations General Assembly. Nigeria's participation at the 79th session of the ongoing United Nations General Assembly records success with the support of the United States Chamber of Commerce, which commits about $320 million towards mortgage financing, among others. Vice President Kashim Shettima, at a meeting with other members of Nigeria's delegation to strategize on Nigeria's engagement in New York, reaffirmed Tinubu administration's commitment towards mortgage refinancing and women empowerment. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
At a U.S.-Nigeria Executive Business Roundtable hosted by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Nisha Biswal of the American International Development Finance Corporation announced that with a portfolio of $1 billion, it was investing $200 million in mortgage financing in Nigeria. $100 million has also been earmarked to finance micro, small and medium enterprises in Nigeria, with particular interest in women empowerment. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce also added that $20 million is for the establishment of a firm processing of cashew nuts in Nigeria. Vice President Kashim Shettima restated commitment to investor-friendly policies, urging investors to give Nigeria the benefit of doubt. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs led other members to brief the Vice President on the activities and itinerary lined up in New York. Apart from President Tinubu's national statement, Vice President Kashim Shettima is also expected to meet with the Secretary General of the United Nations, heads of states, the African, Caribbean and Pacific states, the President of the World Trade Organization, Director General of the International Atomic Agency and multinational companies. The Vice President is also meeting with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and a host of other international partners. From New York, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Nigeria has reaffirmed its commitment to fostering stronger international partnerships and deepening relations with member states of the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States on the sidelines of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this at a high-level meeting of the organization chaired by Angola, reiterating the importance of solidarity among member states and emphasized Nigeria's commitment to the organization's goals while addressing pressing national concerns. Vice President Shettima used the opportunity to address Nigeria's recent inclusion on a high-risk jurisdiction list for anti-money laundering concerns, saying this sets the record straight and engage in constructive dialogue with international partners. The Secretary General, George Rebello Pinto Chikoti, lauded Nigeria's role among member states, noting that the meeting is aimed to strengthen cooperation with Nigeria and expressed gratitude for the country's significant contributions. He reiterated the importance of strengthening partnerships between OACP's member states and the European Union, focusing on crucial collaborations in areas such as environment, infrastructure, education and business development. And still on the sidelines of the 79th United Nations General Assembly in New York, the Organization of African First Ladies for Development, OFLAD, has taken its campaign for inclusive education to the global stage, where it's called on African government to commit towards universal school meals coverage. This was at a roundtable hosted by Rockefeller Foundation and OFLAD. House correspondent Adenita reports that Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, signed the call to action alongside other members of OFLAD, affirming the country's readiness to promote enrollment and school feeding.
From their individual countries in Africa, where they all pledged to promote sustainable development through the We Are Equal campaign, the stage has shifted to New York on the margins of the ongoing 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly. The goal of this roundtable launch, hosted in partnership with the Rockefeller Foundation, is to, among other things, position the school meals agenda in the G20 engagement of the African Union. A nation that is informed will easily transform, says Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu, as he affirms the interest and commitment of President Bola Tinubu to rejig school feeding program in the country.
Because immediately it resumed office, it declared a state of emergency on agriculture, food security. So, and we have to make sure that we're able to grow some food. So with that, the school feeding in Nigeria is being reviewed, because without children having ability to eat, how do you want them to study? There is the early years snack that is being introduced, which are for tots and preschoolers and those in kindergarten. I think they wanted to start with that before we go into the first, primary, we call it primary, which is like the elementary, primary 1 to 3. And they'll start with that. But, the population is not something we can say we have to embrace immediately.
With a surging population faced with climatic challenges, sustainable rollout of the program requires help.
It's something I believe that we really, really want to do so that we can have school enrollment up and then get, most of the children, especially children from the north that are going through desertification. And recently, which, it's been in the news with the flooding in Borno State. So it's just an hydra head problems that we are facing. But at the same time, we are not really scared, but we would need all the assistance we can get. And you can, believe in our administration that we are here to work for our people and, and get Nigeria back on its feet.
It's so clear that it provides all the benefits that Your Excellency mentioned. It's not just a nutrition solution. It's a gender solution. It's a climate solution. It's an economic solution.
Their meeting closed with members resolving to do their part in ensuring that every child has access to a nutritious meal that is affordable and planet-friendly. From New York, Adeni Itaiwo, NTA News.
Again, how to further close the gender gap in Africa, paving way for policies and programs that protect and empower women, dominate discussions as members of the Organization of African First Ladies for Development Overflowed appraised its We Are Equal campaign on the sidelines of the 79th Annual Session in New York. State House correspondent Adeni Itaiwo reports that Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu attended the session with the theme Amplifying Change Through Collaboration. The meeting, which seeks to build solidarity among the First Ladies and development partners, takes stock of the ground already covered with their We Are Equal campaign in the area of girl-child education, gender-based violence, health and women empowerment on the continent, ending with a 10-point call for action. Highlights of the call for action include making decisions through gender lens, elimination of gender-based violence, removal of persistent to girls' education, and increased investment in essential public goods and systems. In recognition of the successful and impactful launch of the campaign in Nigeria, the First Lady received an award of appreciation from the organization.
So education is very, very key to transform lives, because then a woman would have better decision on health, education, and also economic empowerment. I seem to be doing a lot where my people can get help, and I believe that this is just the beginning of a lot of work to be done. So we are quite open to partnership and just trying to complement government efforts to make sure that the girl child has good standing in life.
And away from the United Nations General Assembly in New York, the federal government commends the National Media Complaints Commission, the Nigeria Media Ombudsman, for its impartial and a thorough investigation, which found a Daily Trust report on the Samoa Agreement to be inaccurate, misleading, and not in line with the Code of Ethics for Nigerian journalists. It equally commends the recommendations made by the NMCC, including to Daily Trust to issue a public apology for its false report on the Samoa Agreement and take measures to prevent future occurrence. In a statement, Special Assistant on Media to the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Rabi Ibrahim, says the ruling serves as a testament to the importance of journalistic integrity and accountability and a reminder of role media plays in shaping public perception through truthful and accurate reporting. The federal government notes expect that news outlets will adhere strictly to professional ethics and conduct by ensuring that their reportage is factual, fair and balanced to avoid injurious reporting such as the one done could be avoided. The federal government recognizes that a free press is a pillar of democracy, but with this freedom comes the responsibility to report news in a manner that is accurate and devoid of misinformation. The federal government, on its part, reaffirms its commitment to fostering an environment where the media thrives, while also remaining accountable to the ethical standards of the profession. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has further tightened interest rates by 50 basis points to 27.25% from 26.5% to safeguard price stability gains achieved. Musa Abubakar reports that the Central Bank Governor, Olayemi Cardoso, disclosed the position of the Monetary Policy Committee at the end of its meeting in Abuja.
The CBN Monetary Policy Committee is meeting again. Their mission: decide the next steps in managing Nigeria's monetary policy after latest inflation by the National Bureau of Statistics showed inflation had declined to 32.15%, with core inflation rising to 27.58% in the same period. The committee welcomed the development and observed stability and convergence in exchange rates across different market segments, attributed to the bank's tight monetary policy stance, but acknowledged that further efforts are needed to achieve the bank's price stability mandate.
The fact that we are seeing the reductions and the deceleration over the course of the last couple of months is very, very good news. However, we are not out of the woods yet. We are not out of the woods yet, and we really cannot take any chances.
They noted the ongoing growth in money supply and recognized the need to control excess liquidity and address exchange demand pressures.
We're also concerned about the growing level of fiscal deficit, but acknowledged the commitment of the fiscal authority not to resort to monetary financing through ways and means.
To safeguard price stability gains, they decided to retain a symmetric corridor at plus 500 and minus 100 basis point, raise cash reserve ratio by 50 basis point to 50% for deposit money banks and 16% for merchant banks, while liquidity ratio remains 30%. In Abuja, I'm Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
And to throw more light on CBN tightening interest rate by 50 basis points is Professor Uche Uwaleke, Director, Institute of Capital Market Studies, Nasarawa State University. Kefi, you're welcome to the Network News.
Thanks so much, Olajide. My pleasure being here.
Okay, Prof, were you expecting the committee to tighten up interest rates by 50 basis points?
Honestly, I wasn't expecting that. Many analysts, including myself, had predicted a hold position against the backdrop of the moderation we've seen in headline inflation for the months of July and August, and also taking into cognizance the fact that developing economies are also signaling rate cuts. As a matter of fact, the U.S. has even started cutting rates. But the MPC, in its wisdom, chose to not only increase the MPR by 50 basis points, but also to increase the cash reserve requirements for commercial banks by 500 basis points, from 45% to 50%, and for merchant banks, by 200 basis points from 14 to 16%. So all I can say here is that I think the central bank, must be seeing a problem that those of us outside are not seeing. I also think that the decision that they have taken must have been influenced by evidence, is evidence-based. The central bank governor, alluded to the fact that the banking sector is still awash, with a lot of, funds, liquidity, which of course we know how that, goes to also put pressure, in the forex markets. He also expressed worry. As a matter of fact, they talked about the strong correlation, between FAC releases and the level of liquidity in the banking system. So there is evidence to suggest that, there is still much liquidity out there, and that's, in my view, why the central bank chose to go that route. So I think it is in the overall interest of the economy, based on the arguments canvassed.
Okay, if you're saying it's the overall interest of the economy, this monetary policy, does this stance imply for the economy?
Yes, you notice, again, part of the consideration has to do with the fact that real interest rates, stay negative. Real interest rate is still negative, even with the hike in the MPR, given where inflation rate is, 32.15. The fact that you also have some downside risks to this inflation, given the recent spike in, the pump price of petrol. And if you also look at the inflation trajectory, even with the moderation in headline inflation, core inflation has remained, on the rise, has remained elevated, as it were. So I think these are some of the supporting considerations that they, took into consideration. Now, impact will be there, no doubt. It's going to really affect growth in the short term. Businesses will, of course, also feel the impact because access to credit will reduce, cost of finance will increase. So no doubt the trade-off is something we can't run away from. But it's also left for the fiscal side now to complement this effort by also trying to put in place measures to at least address their own side of the inflation pressure, the food inflation, namely flooding, insecurity, and also the fiscal deficit that the CBN governor complained about.
Okay, Prof, very quickly now, before I let you go, talking about the increase in petrol, the upward increase in petrol, and the hawkish stance of the central bank, do you see inflation further declining in coming months?
Well, I want to believe so, especially now that Dangote refinery come on board with the idea of selling crude to Dangote in Naira, and also, of course, that will reduce the pressure on Forex. So I think ultimately the inflation rates in the coming months will likely, the disinflation, will be sustained.
All right, many thanks, Professor Uche Waleke, Director, Institute of Capital Market Studies, National State University, for your input on the Network News.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
All right, Musa Abubakar is standing by for more on business news. Musa.
Thank you, Olajide. Nigeria's unemployment to population ratio fell to 73.2% in first quarter 2024, down from 75.6% in third quarter 2023. The National Bureau of Statistics reported that the national unemployment rate rose to 5.3% in first quarter 2024 from 5.0% in third quarter 2023. Unemployment was 2.0% among those with postgraduate education and 9.0% for those with post-secondary education. Youth unemployment dropped slightly to 8.4% in first quarter 2024 compared to 8.6% in third quarter 2023. Data show that 46% of employed Nigerians work 48 hours or more per week, and the 2023 Labor Force Survey revealed a national unemployment rate of 5.4%, with Abia having the highest at 18.7% and Nasarawa the lowest at 0.5%. The Nigerian stock market remained bullish this Tuesday as investors stayed positive in anticipation of MPC's sessions. The NGX All-Share Index gained 0.18% to close at 98,568.59 basis points. The gains were driven by appreciation in NIDF, FBN Holdings, UBA, and Access Co, MBA, and others. Market capitalization advanced to 56.6 1.64 trillion naira. At the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a total of 763 million shares in 12,081 deals, corresponding to a market value of 11.7 billion were traded. Today's data shows 86% improvement in volume, 114% improvement in turnover, and 13% improvement in deals. Fidelity Bank recorded the highest volume of 126 million traded shares, followed by Transcorp Nigeria, United Bank for Africa, and Caviton Offshore Support Group. Well, that's it. The news continues after the break.
Don't worry, we'll talk later, yeah?
Buddy,
how far?
Give me small spot, I beg. Make I play game, I beg.
Oh, yeah, now.
Thanks, G.
Yo, Zifa don't come out. Buddy, how far now? I got you.
Buddy, I beg, make I connect, I beg. I need to stream.
Okay, what's that now?
Enjoy 100% data bonus with night data. Dial *312# to enjoy.
Power your relentless ambition with ultra high speed data. Glow Unlimited.
Your baby is here! Congratulations!
Do not waste time. Put your baby to breast within the first 1 hour of delivery to give that first yellowish milk colostrum. Colostrum has all the important nutrients your baby needs to start a healthy life. Colostrum also helps to protect your baby against diseases. Remember, put your baby to breast within the first 1 hour of delivery. This message is from the ANRIN Project, Federal Ministry of Health.
Hello Nigerians, do you know that vaccine-preventable diseases are deadly and have caused a lot of devastation to families and communities? In Nigeria, thousands of children are dying daily from vaccine-preventable diseases. We thank God for giving man the knowledge to produce vaccines, the greatest weapon against vaccine-preventable diseases. We should be determined to protect ourselves, our families, and our communities from these vaccine-preventable diseases. Family and community protection starts with you. Get vaccinated against polio, measles, yellow fever, HPV, and other childhood killer diseases from 11th October 2024 in the southern states and 26th October to 2nd November in the northern states at any vaccination post or government health center near you. Vaccines are safe, effective, and free. Keep your children's vaccination card safe always. Let's protect our families and our communities from diseases by getting vaccinated now. Remember, prevention is always better than cure. This message is from the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency and partners. For further inquiries, call the following NPHCDA toll-free number 7722.
Join the excitement with Betano, the premier sports betting platform in Nigeria and proud official partner of Aston Villa. Enjoy our award-winning experience with fantastic betting options, cash out, and engaging missions. Discover even more exclusive features. Join now and receive a welcome bonus of up to 200,000 naira. Betano, the game starts now.
Come on! Let's go!
Darling natural twists blend with her hair over time.
Yeah, that's perfect.
She's really more beautiful every week. Darling natural twists get better every day, just like you.
On behalf of the Progressives Governor Forum, I extend my sincere congratulations to Senator Monday Okpewala on his victory in the Edo State gubernatorial election held on Saturday, September 21st, 2024. Your success reflects the trust and confidence the people of Edo have placed in your leadership. Your record of public service and commitment to the state have undoubtedly contributed to these achievements. I am confident that you will use your position to advance the interests of all Edo State's residents. I also congratulate His Excellency Alhaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and leader of our esteemed party, for upholding democratic principles and ensuring a free and fair electoral process. My profound gratitude extends to the APC national leadership and party elders whose tireless efforts were instrumental in this victory. I equally commend the indigenes of Edo State who, despite challenges, exercised their democratic right to vote. As you soon assume the crucial role of Governor of Edo State, I urge you to govern inclusively, recognizing your responsibility to all Edo people, regardless of their political affiliations. I trust that you will emulate President Tinubu's commitment to good governance. The Progressive Governors Forum stands ready to support your administration as you work towards the development and prosperity of Edo State. Once again, congratulations on your well-deserved victory. We look forward to the progressive and positive changes your tenure will bring to Edo State. Senator Hope Uzodinma, CON, Governor Ima, Chairman, Progressive Governors Forum.
Thanks for being there. The federal government, through the Budget Office of the Federation, has commenced preparations for the 2025 budget with the training of budget officers from various ministries, departments and agencies. NECA reports that the training is designed to equip officers with the necessary skills to prepare and manage the 2025 budget effectively.
The two-day training program focuses on best practices in budget preparation, leveraging the Government Integrated Financial and Management Information System, GIVMAIS. According to the Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation, this initiative goes beyond technology adoption.
Budget proposals must be coherent and purpose-driven, embodying the government's vision for security and development. Together, we can ensure that our budget proposals for 2025 are not only robust and focused, but also aligned with our national priorities.
For Pius Okwa of the National Mathematical Center and other participants, budget preparation used to trigger feelings of frustration and anxiety. Now with GIVMAIS, it is a smooth sail.
Previously, when the process was very manual, 100%, used to be very cumbersome, I must say. But since the introduction of GIVMAIS, it has really made things faster and easier.
It has helped the workers to also know the difference between just doing budget without GIVMAIS and going into GIVMAIS.
GIVMAIS is an IT-based system designed to improve public expenditure management processes, enhance accountability and transparency across ministries and agencies. Nekaoko, NTA News.
Moving to the business, President Bola Tinubu has transmitted an additional 2024 supplementary budget proposal for the Federal Capital Territory to the House of Representatives for consideration and passage upon resumption. The Green Chamber also adjourned plenary after an abridged session to honor late Senator Ifeanyi Uba. National Assembly correspondent Mitari Ikben now brings us details.
Resumption of plenary after 2 months of parliamentary recess was characterized by the usual exchange of banters among lawmakers. Speaker Tajuddin Abbas thereafter read the President's proposal for an additional 2024 supplementary budget for the Federal Capital Territory.
This supplementary budget proposal has been prepared on the basis of the FCT's reviewed revenue and expenditure forecast, and is aligned with the fiscal and developmental policies of the federal government and the renewed hope.
The House then adjourned plenary in line with its tradition to honor late Senator Ifeanyi Uba, who died during the recess.
We're back, with regular plenary sittings, and we have certain areas that we anticipate that we would have, a lot of concentration on. First of all, we're expecting the 2025 appropriation proposal from the President.
Major expectation is MTEF, medium-term financial expenditure framework of the Mr. President, which will now form the basis upon which the budget 2025 will be premised.
Meanwhile, plenary and other legislative activities will resume on Wednesday, 25th September 2024, with an expected inauguration of a joint ad hoc committee to investigate challenges in the oil and gas sector. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikwen, NTA News.
The Senate resumes plenary after 2 months of recess to attend to legislative business, among them requests from the President for the confirmation of appointees, including the Acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, after exchange of pleasantries with colleagues on the first day of plenary, read a string of letters from President Tinubu requesting confirmation of the Acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, the National Coordinator of National Social Investment Program, and 21 others as commissioners of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. Also transmitted for parliamentary approval is an additional 2024 supplementary budget of the Federal Capital Territory to improve human capital and infrastructure. The President, however, notified the Senate of his decision to withhold assent to the bill that seeks to increase the retirement age for some categories of staff of the National Assembly and legislative houses across the country from 60 to 65.
Upon thorough examination and careful consideration, I have decided to withhold my assent to the bill. This decision is made in accordance with the powers vested in me by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
While welcoming legislators from recess, Akpabio urged them to inspire hope in the hearts of Nigerians.
I implore each and every one of you to continue to reflect upon the weight of the responsibilities that we bear as legislators in the current situation. We are indeed the voice of the people, entrusted with a sacred mandate to advocate for their rights and elevate their living standards. The challenges we face may seem formidable, yet we are also poised to confront them.
The former Chief Whip of the Senate, Senator Ojiuzo Kalu, also commends the federal government for various interventions, urging that more should be done to cushion current economic hardship.
The reformation going on now have never happened in the last 60 years. No president, as I'm telling you, had the courage to do what President Tinubu is doing now. It's about courage. But I appeal to federal government, I appeal to the president to know how he can bring succor quickly.
In line with tradition, Senate suspended consideration of all items on the order paper in honor of late Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, representing Anambra South, who died during the 2024 annual recess. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And away from the National Assembly, Governor Babagana Umar Zulum has flagged off the first of disbursement of relief funds, as well as food and non-food items to victims of the devastating flood that affected Maiduguri and environs. This follows the inauguration of the committee saddled with the mandate to disburse the funds and other support. The presentation of the relief items was launched in Gwange, where the governor updated the public that 7.5 billion naira has so far been credited to the flood relief dedicated account. Mohammed Goni reports.
Following rapid assessment of damages conducted by state officials and other relevant bodies on the impact of the disaster, the disbursement committee was inaugurated to disburse cash, food and non-food relief items to the victims of the flood in Maiduguri and environs, which had since swung into action. The beneficiaries of the flood relief support were categorized into three, depending on the extent to which they were affected, with those who experienced minimal impact receiving 25 kg bag of rice, 10 kg bag of beans, mat, blanket, mosquito nets, and 100,000 naira. The of the intervention expressed gratitude to the government and non-governmental organizations